Good morning, guys. Back from the tillage conference. Had a great, just impromptu conversation with the guys at Dawn and Joe at Dawn. Wonderful guys. It was just a half hour of just complete good time and laughing, and it was just super fun. They make good products. For the soil health side of it, they've got a good line of products already, and they've got some fun stuff coming. So keep an eye on Dawn Equipment. And but this little video, I had some parts to return for the neighbors, Chuck and Lance. And so the first evening, I went up and introduced myself to them and just said, hey, I have parts for Chuck and Lance to return. You know, can I bring them tomorrow? Where if you're not here, where to put them, kind of stuff, just to make sure that they got their parts and they knew they were there. And they're like, yep, put them here if we're not here, blah, blah, blah. The next morning I come by, I set the box off, and the one gentleman's like, hey, you make some videos, right? And I was like, yeah. I was a little not embarrassed, but I'm still not used to it. And so I started laughing, and he's like, see, I told you, Joe, he's the guy. And it was fun, and then that sentence started the whole half hour of pure laughter. But just out of the blue, Joe is like, just turn your camera on and let's just make a quick video. There was no rehearsing. This was take one of, I just met you, turn it on, let's go. So it was super fun, very casual, and that I think you guys enjoy about my videos is I'm not overly scripted and rehearsed. This is amateur, but a really good looking unit, a good concept that you don't need a big, heavy, rigid gauge wheel, that the parallel arms with that cylinder in there, it can actually lift the row unit up as well as down and whatnot. But go to Dawn Equipment, look at their website for soil health products, interseeding cover crops, rolling cover crops with mounted planted rollers and things like that. And so here's the video from Joe. Joe with Dawn. Go for it.
So we were talking about, what's your name again?
John.
And John brought some parts from his neighbors, some vintage Pluribus parts. Here, open the box. And John's neighbor Lance and Chuck had these old Pluribus parts sitting around forever, and I was like, I actually want those back because these are the only ones. Look at the dust. It's barn dust in there too.
Yeah. It's been up on the shelf.
Oh yeah.
This right here, this is actually an interesting device because this was a product of great naivete on my part, and it's an example of an almost right idea. And how sometimes almost right ideas. So what this would do is, this is when people have said, okay, here's our strip till unit. Well, I want to put on anhydrous, right? And I think that this idea was the wrong idea 6 years ago, but if we now put our new thinking onto this idea, we could make it work again. So what it would do is it would sit here behind a coulter like this, and this wand, this wand would run back under where the tilled soil is flowing, and it would shoot gas out. And so the soil's kind of streaming through here, and you've got this rooster tail of soil, and so that the vapor would come up, and then the soil flowing over the top of it would catch it. Well, it's one of those things that would work in perfect conditions and work really badly in bad conditions. So anyways, thanks Lance and Chuck for giving me those back, because I think it's worth taking another look at. But so this is the 5th generation Pluribus row unit. So we've actually made a product like this since 2007, 2006, and this latest generation of the design has, for the first time, active down pressure control. So the gauge wheels, like these, are on an equalizer like a planter. And then the sensor right here measures how much force it has on it. And then the control system modulates the pressure so that you can just keep the same amount of force in the gauge wheels all the time. But so this is really heavy, and you know, 700 pounds, and in really wet conditions. Like, we ask ourselves, why do people do conventional tillage? Because it's easy, right? And you can always be out there doing something. Okay, so if we want to really have the kind of adoption and with strip till and the success with strip till that we can compete with products like, you know, all these vertical tillage tools or like a high-speed disc.
Yep.
You know what? You can always go out there and be doing it.
Yeah.
How do we remove the sensitivity to conditions and adjustment with strip till? Well, the automatic control system with the uplift allows us to make this thing weightless. So you go out in the field and you say, okay, set just a little bit of weight on these things and just skim across the surface. So you get into a wet spot, instead of before you go, and then it picks up a bunch of wet mud and plugs it up and builds up with mud on the components. You're actually carrying the weight of the row unit and automatically controlling it. And so even in the wet spots, you're just sailing across the ground, and it makes it just really easy to set it and make it work, and also run a lot deeper because you can run this row unit 6 inches.
Because a conventional strip till, you would have had a downforce mechanism and some type of gauge wheel that when you, so here you're actually using your parallel arms to take weight away?
Right, so you're either taking weight from the frame, pushing down, or you're giving weight back to the frame, lifting back up, right? And because when you...
That is slick.
When you have a holster type row unit, okay, a knife will kind of pull itself to the ground,
Yep.
right? Anytime you get into a holster type row unit, it'll take a lot of pressure. You could have, if you imagine a field and you say, what is the softest spot in the field and what is the hardest spot in the field? In almost every, if you look at a customer in Minnesota, central Minnesota, or something like this, you could go from needing to push, you've got the mass of the row unit, and then push another 500 pounds down to the softest spot in the field where you actually need to take 500 pounds off of it. So there could be 1,000 pounds of difference in terms of really keeping the depth control running perfectly. Because a lot of problems with mud, when people say, oh, you can't run in mud, it's too sensitive to wet conditions, or these other kinds of things, those are fundamentally design problems.
Sure.
Those are like engineering problems, and instead of saying, oh, you know, okay, Joe Farmer, let's just wait for better conditions. Well, what happens? You never get your simple, right? And so we say, okay, let's use design thinking and say, how do we solve these problems from first concept? They're fundamentally depth control problems. So we make the unit inherently able to kind of free flow mud around it, you know, add the control there, and all of a sudden it just like starts clicking. So
what do we have in the cab then for a monitor?
So you will actually, we now have a mapping system, so you'll use a iPad in order to control it, and also it'll map the hardness or softness of the soil as you go through.
Most people already are using an iPad in the tractor with something already, so you're not buying another monitor.
So for instance, if you're using an iPad for another product, like I think if you're using like a field view product, it would either connect by Bluetooth or through a hardwired connection.
Okay.
It'll connect by Wi-Fi. So the controller could actually, with an iPad Pro, you can run multiple apps at the same time. So you could conceivably be running, say, field view for your fertilizer coverage and be running our telemetry and control system at the same time.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
thanks for doing the video. Jeff was saying, hey, I saw that guy I knew I talked